course, the biggest story to tell is when I was with MAF, you know, one of the greatest achievements for me and my team was to sign Abercrombie and Fitch. And that was really interesting because over 5 years, all the big retailers, or maybe longer, Chenhoubs and Attar and all the Als, I call them all the Als had been pitching to this really big Powerhouse, very big brand, the only brand that had not been in the region. And so, you know, our approach was, in my little world, in MAF fashion, my vision was to scout and sign this big mega beast. And as I went through that journey, you know, my team and the MAF group itself were like, well, you're a small business. How do you compete with Chenhoub, with Attar? If these big giants haven't secured such a big powerhouse, how can you? And hence that journey begins as to how do you enter a market, a new market with such a complicated brand. The reason Abercrombie hadn't been out to the region is because it's a beast. You know, it's a very big player, complexities logistically, complexities in their supply chain, complexities in their brand DNA. You know, they have half-naked men on their doorstep. That is definitely culturally sensitive and not something that would work in the region. You know, they're very set. Mike Jeffries, their former CEO, is a very difficult man. And they were all about control and ownership. For him, it was, I want Abercrombie to look and feel like it does in New York, in Fifth Avenue, to feel like it does in Paris, in Milan, etc. So that's why they had never signed with a partner, because they had not met a partner that understood the whole philosophy of branding and brand DNA and how to recreate such a complicated brand in a very challenging society, right? I mean, the good thing about Dubai is it's multicultural, it has many different nationalities, but as you take Abercrombie to Kuwait, Qatar, and certainly Saudi, it's a very different approach. So how do you enter a market? Is we spent, myself and my team, 18 months, really, it was like a courtship. Any time that we partner with a brand, I have very specific, stubborn requirements. One, I have to love it, because if I don't love it, my team don't love it, we don't feel it. Second, if we're gonna bring a brand in, we're gonna have to live the brand, speak the brand, you know, do whatever it takes to understand the psyche of that brand experience. Unlike a lot of other retailers, you go, you shop, you sign a franchise, you open a store, and that's job done. For us, it was, well, you know, I have to lose 2 stone. So we bought my leadership team. I have Victoria, who is my former marketing director and is now my marketing director here. And we went on an 18-month journey of really living and breathing and being Abercrombie. I mean, we had ridiculously tight denim, ridiculously tight, you know, check pants. We had to go on a strict diet. We had to speak the Abercrombie lingo because everybody's like 18 to 20 something. We had to learn the language, the Hollister language, the Abercrombie language. We had to listen. In our offices, music, Abercrombie music was constantly pumping. We went to Ohio to their, to their campus. They call it a campus because it's a university, literally, of around 5,000 Abercrombie-like people who are all fit and buff and exercise and high five and play basketball, and we're like 40-year-olds, you know, trying to live their life. But the whole purpose of that was to understand the brand, right? Because there's no way I was going to open a store and not have experienced that so that I can then educate my 1,000 employees or my 500 team that's going to run this store as to how to make it happen and the magic of Abercrombie. And that's why we won that account, simply because the team themselves understood our commitment. They understood from the onset that we don't just want to sign a deal and, you know, do an industry coup and then celebrate it in press. We actually genuinely wanted to understand how they worked. And then I sent my merchandisers out there. They lived on campus as well. I sent my logistics. I sent my brand people, my marketing team. We went through a journey of looking at their marketing collateral, changing. It was tough to have to get, thank you, to have to get a business to change their mindset, to say to them, your packaging is not culturally sensitive. And they're like, what do you mean? He's got a 10-pack. You know, he looks good. And he does look good, but it's not appropriate, you know, and their packaging we needed to rework, and we needed to rework their slogans and their pricing tickets and, you know, all of the above. And that's very tough when you're dealing with such a big business that you're having to educate. For them, it's like, why don't we just open a store? we just opened a store. We did it in Paris, we did it in Milan, and for us it's like, no, you can't. And you can't then take that and translate it to Saudi because it's different, and you can't do that in Kuwait, and so on and so forth. So for me to share with you today is, and Peter knows also, that for me it's all about brand. It's all about experience. It's all about emotionally connecting really to whatever it is that you do. It's not necessarily how do you enter a market, regardless of what the product is. We work with different products. We work with retail, fashion, food and beverage, lifestyle, beauty. It's how you apply that methodology to any product that you work with. And we always talk about consumer habits, how the patterns are, the demographics, and that respect to the culture and society that you live in that makes a successful brand.